Well, hello everyone. It is me, Rashi. I am so excited about this parent to parent. First of all, I didn't even know if I was going to do one. Here's why. Um, I might do that a lot. That's because I was out the whole week. I just came back today, had a sinus infection, and I think I'm still battling that. Never had one before, so this has been very fun. Also had some type of allergy. I should show you all the picture. I looked a mess. My eyes were swollen. It was bad. And my voice has finally come back. One of the great things about what I do is I can do things that I think will impact a lot of people. And I think this platform has really allowed me to do just that. We are going to be joined by a very special guest at any moment. We're talking about parent to parent, and I always have people who are experts at things that come on here sharing their expertise. Well, I'm a parent myself. I got 2 kids, and I know someone that has 3 kids, and she works with me. So before I bring her up here, a little bit about her. She has 3 kids. She works full time. And she looks good doing it. And she has so many accolades. I'm not going to list them all because I think what she would say is her number one title is being a mother. And balancing that has been difficult. We bounce off of each other all the time. And honestly, I don't just say this to be nice, but she really is an inspiration because working the shift that we do is difficult. And being able to see someone do it alongside with me and being in their child's life a lot, not, neglecting them, just work, and being great at both is very inspirational. So let me bring her here.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Rashi.
Hi.
Oh, this is fun. This is fun to be on your stream.
So I know we were just on the desk together like 30 minutes ago, and this was pulled together a little bit last minute, but we've been talking about doing something like this. So this is really cool. I want to show you something that you haven't even seen in like 5 years. Let me do this real quick.
We're babies.
Showing. Yeah, here we'd be on the other side. Yeah, this was right after you came back from maternity leave, and we sat right diagonal from each other.
That's right.
You were a reporter at that time, and I remember you asking me like, "Hey, 4 months pregnant, what is it like?" I didn't really know what I was doing at that point, and I would argue that a lot of us don't know what we're doing.
No.
And I think that's what. Oh, thank you, Cindy. Cindy says you look like sisters. Thanks, guys.
It was even more so before when our hair was sort of same length, same color, and we were twinning on air. And we've become sisters through this process. I mean, through my first pregnancy, you helped me out, and we've continued to have so many conversations at our desk and about stories that we're covering in relation to the challenges of all of this when it comes to balancing everything or trying to balance everything. As we were just discussing, you really never do so much as you learn to tolerate that things will never be balanced. So you just accept that and give yourself that room for a little grace.
Yes. And I was just reading some articles about burnout, about parenting and working at the same time. And there's a really interesting statistic that I wanted to bring up because it's with many articles that I've read, and that is that women are 28% more likely to experience burnout than fathers. Not saying that fathers don't do their fair share as well. It really is about support system. So, and Caitlin, you and I have talked about this too. Support system doesn't necessarily have to come with the family that you've been given.
Correct.
It can come in many forms that become your family. So tell me about how you've grown your support system and when you tap into it.
For sure. So when I had my first baby here in Houston, it was just my husband and I, and I was working weekends. And so he had weekends off. I did not. So we never really had days together to be with our kids. Hi, Shirley. So that was the start of things without a full support system. Now we have an inner circle of friends who every week we come together, we have family dinner night. And as far as my kids are concerned, these are their aunts and uncles because my siblings live farther away. They're over on the East Coast. So they don't get to be as present in terms of physically being there. They're involved, but these friends have fully embraced my family. And we've just established very early on that if we're coming, our kids are coming too. And if that's not cool, that's fine. But that's just sort of with working. When I have time that I can be with my kids, I will choose to spend it with my kids, to the point where I've had to set the boundaries with our bosses to know that if it's the weekend, y'all are gonna have to like call my husband if you really need me at times, because I will be so focused on paying attention to my kids and making sure that they're getting that, they say 20 minutes a day where you're just doing whatever it is your child wants you to do, so that they feel like they were seen and heard. I fully, on the weekends, I'm all in with them. And so my friends have become, one of them sitting right behind me, my producer, Sasha, is one of my inner circle. She's looking like, don't bring me in. But I think when you have friends who will step up, and just because none of my friends have children of their own in this circle that I'm referring to, but they've fully embraced my children to be part of that. They've been there through the process. They've watched me go through 3 pregnancies, and they've been fully understanding. And one of the things where they can relate to what I've been through in terms of 3 pregnancies is that they have their own things going on, right? So when you're pregnant and you say, you know what, I'm just not feeling up to XYZ, or I'm not feeling like putting makeup on, whatever it may be. Well, we all have reasons why some days we don't feel like showing up at something that we were going to show up to, whether it's anxiety, whether it's burnout, whether it's work, or whether it's pregnancy, right? So we all relate on that level. And that helps to have friends who just, they don't see it as this thing that's unfamiliar just because they've never been through it. They just look at it as the priority that I'm juggling in this world, just like they have priorities that they're juggling, and they've been incredible. So that support system has been great. My husband and I are on the same page, and we talk, and we very clearly know the roles. We very clearly know, especially with a job where I'm working odd hours, we've just communicated and been able to figure that out. But it hasn't, we are constantly iterating on that. We're constantly looking at what we're doing and saying, should we change this? Should we be doing something different? Should we try this? And figuring it out, because no one really, as I've learned, there's a million right ways to raise a kid. So you just kind of have to find what works with you, your setup, and your people.
And that's such an interesting way of putting it. And, I'm so grateful for all of your experiences and stuff that you share with me, because I know, there are times that I compare myself to others and think, they have so-and-so in their family that does this, or so-and-so, but it's like, you have to stop comparing. And that's one of the quotes I got out of another study, is like, comparison is your worst enemy. So everybody has their own path. So like, I might have a best friend that is like a sister to me, or I might have, my father-in-law that's actually like my real father to me. And these are actually like really things that are happening in my life. And that's okay. So that support system is number one that I've seen just from medical experts and stuff. The other thing that I was going to talk about was actually being able to set boundaries. Obviously, we can do that with our kids, disciplining them and telling them what to do, but also at work. So like you did with, with our boss and stuff, it's like they know what our priorities are.
Right.
And I think that we can be at times timid to share what is important to us. And I think the more that we do that, the better it is.
And more research is finding that too, in relation to, I've got a piece that we're doing tonight on the 10 o'clock news about people quitting their jobs. And 50% of the people that Pew Research spoke to about why did you quit your job, 50% or so said that it was because their job was not accommodating for childcare. And so that goes to show you that that's a priority for a lot of people. And sometimes we feel like, well, if I say something, my bosses are going to see me as, well, they're not
weak, or
right. They're not working hard enough. They're not in this, but that is so shifting across many, whether it's childcare, whether it's simply wanting to spend more time doing whatever it is that fills your heart. I think people are realizing that work doesn't have to be this all-encompassing thing. And certainly for women back in the day, my mother-in-law is a huge inspiration to me, because she came up in some industries and cities where guys were definitely in charge, and she was a tough cookie, and she climbed her way up. and then I think we benefit from the women before us who fought and put us in a position to be able to say, you know what, it's not weak to be caring. And in fact, I was just talking with someone about that just today at lunch, about how even more and more fathers are playing active roles now, and that's not unusual. So I think the fact that it's no longer unusual, we need to remind ourselves of that and trust that we are not the first person or the last person or the only person who's going to say these types of things, want these types of things. And it's, at the end of the day, what is it all for, right? I mean, part of it is being able to be with our kids, spend time with them, and not get to 10 years down the road and be like, I missed every family dinner, and now you're a little teenager, basically.
And you've lost that time.
Yeah.
It's these specks of time that we have to actually cherish in order to fully be grateful and present in what we're here to do on this earth. And I am so grateful also because, and my vocabulary has also kind of changed. I've seen in the last like 6 months since, like, you know, because I say I'm more grateful for things and I'm more, you know, I think it's more of like positive vocabulary ever since I've started.
Rashi, we lost Rashi. Well, I'm sure she'll be right back. I think she's absolutely right about positive vocabulary, for sure. And I've noticed that because when you're teaching your children how to talk, they react to you, right? Here she is. Rashi's coming back online.
There we go.
Rashi, I was just backing you up because I think I've learned that with my vocabulary and what I'm saying in front of my kids. Seeing my daughter reflect back the way that I react to things made me realize, oh, they pick up everything. So the way I talk to myself, the way I talk to other people, the way I communicate with my husband is going to set that boundary, right? So she was my first kid. So unfortunately, anyone who's the oldest child, good for you for being the one who, your parents were learning too, I'm sure. And yeah, you do have to change your language. You also learning to speak firmly. It's funny, I have a family member who is very passive aggressive. And so, and not in a mean way, but in a way, George is right. Our boss has been incredible. I remember when I first told our boss that I was pregnant, and I told her, oh, I still want to work hard. I still want to be put out on stuff. And she said, I get it. You're pregnant. You're not disabled. You're not quitting. I get it. She understood. But I have this family member who, when this person wants something, they'll say, oh, why don't you grab one of those and bring it over to the table for everyone? And I'll think, well, I don't want one of those. I don't want those things. And then I'll look at them and say, do you want me to get you one? They say, yeah. I say, okay. So I think of how I look at my kids and say, how do we ask with good manners? You know, how do you? So I realize, oh, like maybe I do that too. And you start to look back and look at and reflect on what good behavior is, how you can model the best of it, and realize you're going to make mistakes, which means you have to learn. The hardest part for me, or one of the most interesting things, was learning how to apologize and have a conversation with my daughter, who's the oldest. So she's the one who's noticing things first, having a conversation where I go back to her and say, hey, I'm sorry that I did XYZ. I was frustrated, and, you know, it really makes me, you know, and being vulnerable in front of her so she understands what vulnerability looks like and not to be afraid of it was part of that same thing, adding to my emotional vocabulary of these are moments that are important for me to have with them.
And being vulnerable, I mean, growing up, my parents, they were very conservative and very, you know, sheltered in the sense that they wouldn't share their feelings and their emotions. And so it was new kind of, you know, growing up and seeing, like, my husband comes from a different culture. And so seeing how they share feelings and say, I love you and all that kind of stuff, which is great. It's just a cultural thing.
But it was different for you?
Yes, it was much different. My parents never said I love you growing up. It was great. It's not that they didn't. It just, you just didn't say it. It was just kind of understood. And, you know, with just recently we did a segment about talking to your kids about war and showing vulnerability.
That was a great piece, Rashi.
Saying thank you. And I learned so much from it because, like, telling my child, I'm scared too. I feel sad for these mommies and daddies too, helps them understand their own complex feelings. Like, you can be mad and sad at the same time. You can be frustrated and this and that. So your point to being vulnerable in front of your kids, I think, is very important to do. And especially times that we come home and or we're going to work and we're like, I don't want to go to work because I just want to be here and I want to do this, you know,
right.
That's hard. And I don't know if you do this, but I try really hard to just leave what's at work, and, like, leave what's at home, like, compartmentalize.
Giving you snaps, girl. You got to compartmentalize. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, another hat.
Yeah, it's very true. You have to be able to put it away so that you can be available to them
Yes.
as much as they need to be. And even when my kids call me or reach out to me during the day, I know the older they get, they're going to do that more while I'm here at work and they're home working on homework or whatever that might be. That's, being emotionally available to them, being a listening ear to them, and being able to put work away. For me, I get home at 10:30 at night, 10:45. So they're not up. So I'm able to sort of vent and decompress from the day with my husband then over dinner. But yeah, being able to, that's one of the reasons why things like social media, I'm just not on or checking or looking when I'm with my kids, because that's that break where there's a screen between me and them. And I don't want them to ever feel like I'm not more important than that device in her hand. So I'm never on, which when people are like, hey, I text you, I'm like, sorry, my phone was somewhere in my bag.
And that's so good. So good.
I try, we have to try to maintain some of that slippery slope.
I do that now too. It was a New Year's resolution, and anytime I'm with the family, I just leave my phone at home.
Yeah.
And that's great, because if you need me, well, I have the people that would need me directly. So why do that? The last question I'm gonna ask you is, what do you think the hardest part about trying to manage both? I know it's a loaded question.
No, it's a great question. My daughter's understanding of mothers is that they're not around all the time as a result of the fact that I'm at work. My husband, his job allows him to work from home, which is awesome. So he's there when they are there, always at the same time. He's doing dinner, he's doing baths, he's putting them to bed. He's a rock star. He's the biggest support in my life. But my daughter's like, well, mommies go to work and daddies are home making dinner. So kudos to the empowered view of the modern world, but also the guilt of that. I mean, it's rough. But also I know that I'm setting an example for her so that she understands that women can work and have jobs that have whatever it may be that she needs to see in terms of believing that she can pursue something. She's a little rock star, so she's going to do it. But when my 2-year-old looked at me a couple months ago and said, Mommy, I don't want you to go to work. And that was a tough conversation, but I try to be fair with them and honest. Look, we're all going to feel guilty and we're all going to feel like we're messing it up. But as those of you, if any of you follow me, then you know my phrase that my grandfather gave us is glorious chaos. He always came from a big family, and he always just would look around at holidays and say, it is glorious chaos, because it would be true, utter chaos. 30, 40 people in the house. Everyone's running around. Kids are screaming. People are like grabbing sodas from the fridge and chugging them. You're like, oh no, you're supposed to be eating healthy, whatever. At some point, you have to give yourself the grace in the room to let that go. So with working, I realized there's going to be times where I'm emotionally exhausted because of what I did at home, and I'm not going to be as available at work. And I try to allow myself not to feel too guilty about that. And then similarly, when I'm home, I try to allow myself a little grace. We all just need to give ourselves a little bit of grace. But I think having sisters at work is a big part of it. You've been a huge person that I can go to in those moments. And I think having those friends, and any of you who don't have someone like that in your workplace, whether it's me or Rashi, you're welcome to tweet us anytime. But see, Kristen says she feels that guilt too, travels for work. I've looked at a couple jobs that would involve travel or involve having a longer commute, even looking at commuting and realizing if I had a longer commute, that's less time I'm at home. And those are the guilty decisions that you have to fight through. And I think still to this day, women feel it a little bit more. I've also, one of the hardest parts for me in becoming a mother to 3 now is that I never really gave myself the space to acknowledge that giving birth is a traumatic physical event. And not that it was painful for, I've had incredible medical care here in Houston, incredible doctors, incredible nurses. I'm so grateful to be in Houston for all this, but to give myself the grace after the fact that I need to heal and that I need some time, and that it's okay to say I need to go take a nap. And one thing I noticed, Rashi, is that how often do you find yourself looking at your husband and saying, hey, do you mind watching the kids while I go XYZ? And I feel like as moms, we do that more often. We ask permission to do things like basic human function, like can I go shower?
Yeah.
Yes, I need to shower. That's hygiene. I'm going to go take
Right.
care of that.
Can you watch them so I can sit down and eat?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes,
yeah.
and feeling like, well, I shouldn't, I want to like step outside
Yes.
for 5 minutes. And that's
Right.
something where my husband realized how important that was for me in staying sane so that I'm not freaking out and yelling at someone, so that I'm not losing my patience. And that's something that, again, the guilt of feeling like you need anything for you, we joke about it, but in fact, we need it. So I appreciate all the moms who are on here. Oh,
Yes.
I'm so glad you guys
I
watch.
know. Thank
We
you
have such a
so
great
much. And I
community.
really, Caitlin, feel that, you know, I have that whole guilt thing too. And especially, you know, when we have the earlier days and it's like, oh my God, you know, and but what's great is that we have to make ourselves that more present when we're with our kids.
Yeah.
And it's a rewarding thing for us and for them too.
Yeah.
So when they're off, we're off too. And it's, you know, it's that time whenever you get that, you know, moment of time to spend with your child. Make it the most of it. It's the quality versus the quantity that counts. And that's kind of what keeps me going as well. So thank you guys so much. I think that, you know, we've gone over from our time a little bit, but this is so great. Caitlin, I hope that
let's chat more. Let's bring some of
this.
the ladies in the comments. By all means, let us know if you want to chat. Tell us about your family. Post more comments, and maybe you can be part of the conversation as we go forward and just create this support group here. Rashi, I love what you're doing, and thanks for being my support group too.
I know. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Love you, and we will see you next week, guys, for another edition of Parent. Remove myself. There I am. We're doing this all ourselves now. Yeah, so thank you guys so much. Next week, we are going to be talking to a group of ladies who have started this organization helping bring a spotlight to all of the African American women and what they struggle with and how to help them. It's a very empowering topic, and also something that is very important to people across the board, across the nation, and internationally as well. So I can't wait to share that with you. Again, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. And if you have any ideas, please email them to me, rashi.vats@fox.com. Moms and dads, whoever did comment, thank you for that. And we're just here to all learn and grow together. And I'm here for it. Hope y'all have a great weekend. And if you live in Houston, bundle up because tomorrow there's supposed to be this cold front, according to JD. Bye.